welcome everyone for joining us this evening. But before we begin, I would like to introduce the Craig Henry Community Association board members. So when I call your name, just give a wave. Now, a lot of you don't have your cameras up, and that's okay. But we have our vice president is Julian Leclerc Dion, and who's hosting the meeting. Thank you, Julian, for doing this. Our treasurer, Erica Phillips. Here we go. Our secretary, Jinjing Fu. Director of Communications, Doris Leong. And our director of RINC is Todd Newman. And our director of safety projects, Ellie Greenberg, couldn't join us tonight with a family matter that came up, and she sends her apologies. And then myself, I'm the president of the Craig Henry Community Association and the director of Cleaning the Capitol. We have vacancies on the board, and if anyone is interested in joining us, please reach out. We welcome volunteers. I'd like to introduce the Ward 9 candidates in alphabetical order. Joseph Benami, James Dean, Sean Devine, Miles Eglai. Where's Miles? Did we lose Miles? There? Oh, there. Okay, sorry, Miles. You moved around. Peter, who maybe will be joining us later. Peter Westaway and Michael Wood. Thank you very much for joining us. The format will be the following. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves. After the introductions, there are 6 questions which have been prepared with input by residents and the CHCA board members. Going in alphabetical order, we'll be asking the first question to Joseph Benami and then follow in alphabetical order. The second question will be addressed to James Dean, and again, we will follow in alphabetical order and so on. We remind everyone that this is not a debate style meeting and no interruptions are allowed. You will be given 1 minute to answer the question. We kindly ask that you use your 1 minute to answer the specific question and not any other issue. If you are not able to answer the question, please take a pass and we will move on to the next candidate. There is a timer which will be displayed for your reference, and there will be 10 seconds left. Warning sounded. At the 1 minute mark, you may be muted. At the end of the question period, you will be each given a 1 minute wrap up. All right, so we're going to begin the introductions, and we'll begin with Joseph Benami.
Okay, so I thank you very much for hosting this online meeting. Just very quickly, I don't really need this job. I'm running because, like so many of you, I'm frankly tired of the melodrama at City Hall and the mismanagement of our city's business. As successive councils have spent hand over fist on mega legacy projects, our roads have gone unrepaired, critical infrastructure is allowed to deteriorate, and basic services like police and ambulance have been either ignored or cut back. This election is about change, but it's not enough to just change councillors or change the mayor. What we need at City Hall is a change in culture. We need councillors with their priorities straight, who understand that their job is first and foremost to ensure the city provides core services, and that the money entrusted to them to provide these services isn't theirs to just throw around on these mega projects. We need councillors with common sense, knowledge, and the perspective that comes with age and experience, and that's what I bring to the table in this election. Just a few quick words about myself. I'm a family man with deep roots in our community. I was born in Ottawa, and I've spent most of my adult life here, including 30 years in the ward. My wife and I have 4 children, all grown, and 7 grandchildren. I'm not a career politician. I don't aspire to higher office, and I don't need the job to bolster my other business interests. My only interest is in getting our city back on the right track. I know the ups and downs of running a private business, but I also understand government and public finance and how to get things done in both private and public sectors. And finally, call me old-fashioned, but I believe that the role of elected officials in a free and democratic society is to serve people, not to rule over them. All of this is to say that I won't be bought, bullied, or bamboozled by lobbyists, staff, the mayor, or anyone else. Instead, I'll be a strong, steady, and independent voice for sensible policies and responsible spending on behalf of you taxpayers. Thank you very much, and I look forward to the rest of the evening.
We're going to move to James Dean then. Thank you.
My name is James Dean. I grew up in Ward 9, continue to live here. I went to St. Gregory's, Frank Ryan, Marvel High School, took business out of Algonquin College. When I was 10 years old, I even helped build the church in Tanglewood, McLean Baptist Church. I currently live at Quality Living Housing Cooperative. Cooperative is a corporation where the people that live there are essentially the owners. I've been volunteering for the last 17 years on the board of directors. We have a $1 million a year budget. In those 17 years that I've been managing, we have done all kinds of infrastructure, roads to roofs, everything in between. We are debt-free, money in the bank. Few issues I'm running on. LRT, if you remember voting on phase 2, phase 1 is a complete mess, and everybody wanted a public consultation on phase 2. They pushed the vote through so quickly. Phase 2 ended up just about as phase 1. Well, guess what's coming in January? Phase 3. I'm vowing that, there's going to be a lot of pressure for the up to 50% new council to vote on this, where the provincial and federal funding is expiring. We're going to be told if we don't vote on it, we're going to lose the funding. Well, I'm suggesting that we put phase 3 on hold, finish phase 1 and 2. They're saying it's going to take at least 2 more years. Let's complete phase 1 and 2 and put our best foot forward for phase 3. Next, our debt. I had to go through the mayor's office to get this information, so I'm pretty sure most of the council aren't even aware of it. Our debt in 2010 was only $700 million. It's now $3 billion. We've quadrupled our debt in 12 short years. We're spending $240 million a year just to service that debt, and that's at low interest rates, and every year the debt is getting higher. I'm vowing that anything that comes to City Hall that's increasing our debt, I'm voting no on it. That's my promise to the good people of Ward 9 right now. Thank you.
We move on to Sean Devine. Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? I just want to make sure you can hear me.
We can, thank you.
So, hello everyone, I'm Sean Devine and I'm running to be your next city councillor for Ward 9. I live quite close to Craig Henry here in Trendarlington with my wife and our 4 kids. Many people in Craig Henry already know me from the work I've done in Trendarlington, where I've proven myself as a reliable and effective community leader for the past 7 years, never more so than after the 2018 tornado, where I led the local recovery effort. I'm running to be your city councillor because Ward 9 needs a compassionate, responsible, hardworking, and experienced representative. Our city is facing a lot of challenges right now, many of which are relevant to Craig Henry. Our public transit system is in complete disarray, and it's going to require people who believe passionately in public transit, as I do, to fix that problem. Our roads are in very poor shape, and there's also the issue with dangerous speeding on residential streets. Our population is growing, and when it comes to intensification, we need to make sure that it's done in a responsible manner which benefits the existing community. Make no mistake, being a city councillor is hard work. It's not just about voting on budgets and policy issues. It's about being present in the community and getting to know the issues and concerns. It's about the work you do every day, listening to residents and responding to their needs. This is a position that you have to earn through the work you've already done because the responsibility is so great. Aside from raising my family, community service and building strong communities has been the center of my life for many years, and I hope that you will give me your vote so that I can dedicate myself to serving Craig Henry and Ward 9.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean. Thank you. And now we go on to Miles Eglai.
Thank you, Craig Henry Community Association, for hosting this event, and the residents of Craig Henry for taking the time from their busy schedules. My name is Miles Eglai. I am the past president of the Mannerdale Woodvale Community Association and the president of the current councillor. I have lived in the community for 30 years. So I brought up my 2 boys within this community. This community is part of me and I am part of it. I quit my job on June 30th and immersed myself within this community. I've been knocking on doors, visiting you on your streets, and going to community events to get to know what the issues of the ward are going forward. I'm running a grassroots campaign. I'm getting support and donations from those that believe in me and what I stand for. I am not accepting donations from developers. When I speak to you, I am speaking from the heart. It is not from a script. I'm saying what I truly believe and what I think will benefit the ward. I have 5 pillars in my platform: emergency preparedness, affordable housing, public transportation, intensification, and the environment. I believe in light of the tornado and the derecho, we need to have an emergency preparedness plan in place to take care of the residents of this ward and the city as a whole. I believe in affordable housing and believe when we do intensification correctly, we can help to take care of some of the issues, as well as taking care of some of the environmental issues at the same time by taking care of our green spaces and our tree canopy. I believe in an affordable and reliable transportation system, one that will take the people of Ottawa to where they want to go, not where the city seems to think we go. I would put forward a motion taking care of renovation and demo evictions, where people are being forced out of their homes for no reason whatsoever. For more information on my platform, please visit Miles Eagle for Ward 9. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. And next is Peter Westaway.
Thank you for having me. I'm not your normal candidate. I grew up
Do you want to
Leslie
start
Park,
a
just down the
timer?
street from you. Hello,
Okay,
sorry. I grew up Leslie Park. I currently live in Mannerdale. I drove taxi for many years, and I developed quite an obsession. I love the city. I got to know it really well, and the people in it. But my obsession, as I hope I'm going to make clear, is about the green belt. And I know it's federal land, but it's literally half of our ward. There's a 4-kilometer stretch of cornfield. I love the green belt, the green part of the green belt. The cornfields are not green. Again, I know it's not a city issue. That's why it's a very difficult issue. You're going to hear me. This is just, I've been doing this as an ongoing campaign. I'm probably going to keep going because I know I'm not going to convince anyone, but I wish you would just pay a few minutes, read my proposals. First of all, I have not heard anyone disagree with lining Greenbank Road with trees. It's those barren roads. You've probably all ridden them in the winter, and they're wind blown, they're dangerous, and there's absolutely no reason why we can't be very first planting trees along Greenbank Road out to Barrhaven. You know the open stretches of fallow field, everything. Besides for that, I do have strong opinions of other actual local issues. And one is LRT. I say no to any of the LRT, but we're stuck with the first 2. We got to postpone the 3rd phase until the transit numbers go up. And I'm the only one who's mentioning the inevitable, and that we're going to have driverless buses very soon, within 10 years, at least on the transit ways. And so instead of purchasing $1 billion worth of electric buses, we should be looking into the actual new technology and get rid of half of the bus drivers. The unions won't like it, but drivers' jobs everywhere are going to be fading away as this technology improves. So please,
Thank you, Peter.
I don't expect you to hope that I'm your
Thank you, Peter. Sorry, we have to move on, and we move on to Michael Wood.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Mike Wood. I see Keith Egley on here, so I'd like to thank Keith for his years of service with the city, and it's been wonderful to work with along the way. I'd like to thank the Craig Henry Community Association for asking me to come on. I grew up in Craig Henry, and I lived there for 25 years, and it's the community I've lived in the longest for my 46 years of life. And over the last 2.5 years, I became the voice and face for small businesses and families, not only here in Ottawa, but across Ontario and Canada. Many of you, I get stopped a lot asking if I'm the guy from CTV with the hair, as I was on with Leslie Roberts 2-3 times a week. And community involvement has always been forefront for me. So, you know, advocating for the small businesses, I've got tremendous relationships across all parties. I do feel that city council should be nonpartisan, and I don't know if that's what we're seeing in Ward 9 right now. And so moving ahead, you know, we need to be able to all work together and create a balance at City Hall. We need that unity together. And, you know, in terms of the different things I've been hearing at the door and chatting with people, over the course of the global pandemic, I put together 2 mental health town halls with Ottawa Public Health and the Royal. I think that the city needs to have more support for those that are struggling with their mental health. I think we need to obviously look at transit. Transit is a big problem across the city right now. We need more community safety. That means improving roads, improving bicycling paths, and we have to make sure that everybody feels safe. Pedestrians, we need more affordable housing, and we just need everybody to work together after October 24th.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. All right, that concludes the introductions. So we're going to go right into our questions. And the first question will go to Joseph, and then we'll go in alphabetical order. How would you, as Ward 9 councillor, help make the Craig Henry Community Association a stronger organization and to become more directly engaged with the city? We'll start with Joseph.
Well, thank you very much for that question. How will we make the community association stronger? Wow, that I have to tell you is something that I hadn't given much thought to. So this is an off-the-cuff answer without a lot of thought, but I guess it all comes down to finding ways to increase participation amongst community members. My guess is that not a lot of people actually are engaged in participating in community association events. So I would say that we probably have to spend some time looking at more effective ways of reaching out and communicating with people about events, finding ways to be of more service to them so that the association is more relevant to their day-to-day lives. And I also would like to say that, you know, if I'm not elected, I think I'd be happy to serve on the board as a volunteer as well. Not that I would be doing anything. Okay.
Thank you, Joseph. James?
So I put some thought into this for all our community centers. I would like to give a lot more authority to our community centers in regards to anything that they would like to change. For example, stop signs or speed bumps or speeding cameras, or this would encourage a lot more people to come forward and volunteer. And that's the biggest problem we have right now with our community centers, is that we're putting out barbecues and we're emptying garbage cans, but we don't have all the volunteers we need. If there's a whole lot of more authority to the community center, that when they do want to stop sign in a certain spot, comes to city council, it's just rubber stamped because we've already got approval from the community. Next, I would like to make one focal website for all community centers. Put that on the city councilor's budget, where all community centers are all in one website and they all have their own division off of that. It'll create a lot more communication amongst different community centers within our ward.
Thank you, James. Thank you. Sean?
Thank you. I love this question because I myself have run a community association for many years, and I've seen the tangible benefits from what a community association can do for its community. Ironically, soon after the tornado, it was Councillor Keith Eglai and myself who sat down with Matthew Dotzenroth, who was your inaugural president before Bessie stood in, to get the Craig Henry Community Association going. To answer your question of what would I do to have community associations be more engaged, it all comes down to promoting the benefits of volunteering for your community, which is a hard thing to do. It's hard to get volunteers involved. What I would do is meet with community leaders and show them the tangible benefits of being a volunteer and the impact you can have on your community. And what I want to do soon after being elected is meet with community associations all across the ward to see that they can all be strengthened so that they can all serve their community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We go to Miles.
Thank you, Bessie. As being an ex-president of the community association, one of the key things is to get enough volunteers and to determine what strategy you want to go forward. A lot of community associations only deal with social activities Some deal only with the political activities. I think if you have a combination of the two and have the community association sit down with the councillor and the other community associations award, the KMC, you'll be able to strengthen it and figure out the objectives going forward. The community association can be a strong voice for the community when it comes to intensification and other activities. It gives the residents a place where they can put their voices and go forward. Thank you.
Peter Westaway.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add because I don't have a lot of experience with community associations. One comment though is you're asking how yours in particular can be stronger. Well, my observation is you've got quite a strong one already. We've heard from very few community organizations, so it's really nice to see you guys all committed. Not only inviting us to be here, but you're showing up to pay attention. So hopefully, you know, you get a strong voice with whichever candidate you choose, and we move forward together. That's
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. And Michael.
Thank you, Bessie. I think, like anything else, we need to promote the value of the community associations to the people that live in the area. I think I have to agree with some of the comments that were made. I think that over the past month and a half, there's been few messages coming through from the community associations, and the Craig Henry one is definitely one that's been asking for more information. And I think what we have to do is reach out to the community, reach out to the stronger players in the community, and help them understand what the community association does. I think it might be the college professor in me, but you know, help educate people on just the value that a strong community association brings. And from there, hopefully get enough volunteers, because I think, as we all know, the strongest, hardest challenge in anything like this is getting the volunteers. And we just have to find a way for them to know just how much they mean and how much impact they can have.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to question number 2, and we'll begin with James Dean this time. How do you intend to maintain dialogue with residents once elected?
Well, there's through the community associations, if we're giving them more authority, there's going to be a whole lot more volunteers. I'm going to be out meeting them regularly. As I'm knocking on doors, I'm letting people know that the number on my door hanger is my personal number, my personal cell number. I'm going to be trying to answer the phone myself. And at least the initial phone call that comes in, I'll be answering it for 90% of them. And if I need to get my staff involved, I'll be doing that also. But communication is key. Again, creating a website for all the community associations that go back to my office. And that's another great way to communicate. I'll have weekly newsletters going out. I'll have a website that'll be have weekly updates on it also, that people can go to my website and find out what's going on in the community. When we have a one central website for all the community centers, all the events will be up there and all the news will be up there also.
Thank you, James. We go to Sean Devine.
Thank you. So I already have as a goal in the first 6 months of my term as councillor is that I want to have meetings with every single community association across the ward, as well as other community leaders, whether that be business leaders, church leaders, because what I want to do is build those fundamental relationships that will help me connect them with communities. And then once those relationships are built, then start just a reciprocal, trust-based relationship where I will dialogue with them and they will dialogue with me, and they will trust that I will reply to their emails and respond to their phone calls, just as Councillor Keith Eglai has a good reputation for doing. Another thing is, a lot of people are quite fond of Councillor Eglai's newsletters, and I myself have written the newsletters for my community association for the past several years, and so I fully intend to follow in his footsteps with weekly newsletters sent out to the entire ward.
Thank you, Sean. And Miles Eglai.
Thank you so much for the question. I would maintain a weekly newsletter as it has been currently done. I would also have quarterly town hall meetings within the various areas of the ward so we can sit down with the residents, discuss the issues of the day. I would establish a website. I would have communication through the Knoxdale Maryfield Council. I would reach out to the residents on a regular basis with any updates. As president of the community association I've been involved with, I've answered emails on a regular basis. I would work with you 24/7 and answer emails on a daily basis. I'm currently doing that now with my website for election. I answer questions on a regular basis, and I would continue to communicate directly with the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. And we move on to Peter.
Okay, I will have to agree with a couple of points that Sean made. I was thinking the exact same thing, but I've had several people commend how Keith has done a great job in the communication. So I really like, again, I like Sean's idea, because I'm admitting I'm a neophyte at this stuff, but having discussions with organizations like yourselves on an ongoing basis, and of course having a website, and again, like James Dean, I don't know if I'd be answering all the calls personally, but definitely there's got to be just really good open contact between the residents and City Hall. That's about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. We go to Michael Wood.
Thanks, Betsy. So, like everybody's saying, Keith, I know you can hear this. There's a lot of people at the doors that are very complimentary of how responsive you were and your monthly newsletter. And so, the scenario being that's got to continue. People have an expectation that was set. One of the things with more youth in the ward and so on, I will have a text service as well too, to get the message out via SMS text delivery. It has a far higher open rate than email, about 96%. 100% will be responsive. I actually have former students that laugh at the end of the semester because they say they can get a response from their professor at 1 o'clock in the morning. And of course, with all the community associations and the people in the ward having monthly planning meetings to make sure that everything is on track and everybody is being looked after the way they hope they would be.
Thank you, Michael. And we move on to Joseph Banami. Joseph, can somebody? Joseph, you're muted.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, my apologies. There isn't a lot to add to what's already been suggested by everybody. Newsletters, continuing the newsletters, websites. I will say that the city actually does have a page where it lists resources, contact information for community associations, and it's a little sparse. So I think that probably community associations have to do a little bit better job also making sure that their information is available to the city website, but we can have our own as well. Regular scheduled meetings with community associations and community leaders, bringing together not just community associations, but business association leaders, and also leaders from other groups within the community, such as churches, synagogues, etc., mosques. I would like to see a regular council, if you will, almost like an advisory council meeting on a regular basis with representation from all of those groups.
All right. Thank you, Joseph. We're going to move on to our third question, and we're going to begin with Sean Devine. Our third question is, some mayoral candidates' policies, such as free transit, affordable housing, etc., may put upward pressure on property taxes. Does this concern you? And if so, what would you do if elected to keep property tax increases to a bare minimum?
Thank you. I kind of like the way our property tax assessment system happens right now based on the mill rate, where there's a certain predictable increase in our tax rate on a yearly basis. And I think that that is generally serving us well. What I don't want to see is significant increases to our taxes. What I also don't want to see is a freezing or a decrease to our taxes, because I think with inflation being what it is, that would result in a concerning lack of diminishment of services. What I would rather focus on is getting better value for our taxes. So if we can keep our property tax rate at the same level and then reprioritize how we spend that money, I think that is a much more prudent way of advancing our city's finances and not falling into any more debt.
Okay, thank you, Sean. We move on to Miles.
Thank you so much. I would try to maintain the current tax rate at 2 to 3%. I would do a line by line review of the budget. One hasn't been done in close to 10 years or more to see where we have expenses that we no longer need. I would not go forward with free transit. I think that's an expense that we cannot properly afford right now. I am hearing from the door that many residents are concerned when the next value comes out from MPAC that their taxes are going to be increased to a level where they can't afford it. So unless the city is prepared to adjust the mill rate, there may be serious concern for people losing their houses because of their property tax values. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. We go to Peter Westaway.
First of all, I object to the term free transit, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's the opposite of free transit. It's forcing every taxpayer to buy a discounted pass. So it's ridiculous to call it free. So obviously that hopefully they don't go anywhere close to that. I would prefer to see a tax freeze, but that's unrealistic with the interest rates going up. Some of you may remember growing up in Nepean, we had a pay-as-you-go. A lot of us Nepean people were very pissed off with amalgamation because shortly after they paid $73 million in cash. They wrote a check for that beautiful facility in their new city hall. And then anyways, I gotta go. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And we go to Michael.
Thanks, Bessie. So I, like many others, are obviously concerned about what the tax increase could look like. Going door to door and hitting some of the seniors in the community, they are very concerned about it because the cost of living is skyrocketing right now. Cost of groceries, cost of everything else is going up, with the exception of their CPP. And so their pensions aren't going up and everything else around them is. I don't think that we can operate on freezing taxes. I think everything will go up over time, but I think that we have to evaluate, to take a look at the budget, evaluate where we spend the money efficiently, but try and protect those in the ward as well too, especially those seniors right now. They're incredibly concerned about this because it is top of mind for many of them.
Thank you, Michael. We go to Joseph Benami.
Thank you. Our city's finances are a mess, okay? And I have to say that, frankly, I think it would be a little irresponsible and maybe even a little disrespectful to voters to pretend that those of us here tonight can address such a serious and complicated issue in 60 seconds or less. So what I can tell you is this: when you find the old saying, when you find yourself stuck in a hole, the first step to getting out of that hole is to stop digging. That means, in my view, freezing taxes and freezing spending until we've had a chance to really figure things out properly. It's a complicated issue, and I'm not going to make any big promises or declarations like this without having all of the details in front of me. That would be my position on my first budget, though. Tax freeze and spending freeze until we actually have a chance to really delve into things and responsibly and come up with some solutions to a very serious problem.
Thank you, Joseph. And now we go to James Dean.
I have a very unique perspective on this. I have 17 years experience at Quality Living Housing Cooperative. We have a $1 million a year budget. We consistently have 0 to 2% increases. I am proven fiscally responsible as a community leader. How will we keep our enormous debt from growing any further? Again, $3 billion debt from $700 million in 12 short years. $240 million a year just to service that debt. Imagine having 1 year extra, $240 million. We could do every dream project. First step, we have to stop increasing our debt, and I'm vowing, anything comes to City Hall that's going on our debt, I'm voting no on it. We have to keep people in their homes. We have to keep our taxes as close to zero as possible. As far as free transit, I believe having discounted transit for seniors, discounted transit for low income, disabled students, but everyone else, regular price transit. And affordable housing, I have very unique perspective on affordable housing where I live. Gives me a very unique.
Thank you, James. Thank you. All right. Doris Leong actually will be continuing with the next 3 questions and the wrap up portion. And I thank you for taking the first 3 questions. Doris?
Thank you, Bessie, for this. So our 4th question, our community has been facing several safety challenges, including vandalism, eggings, drug dealings, etc. What should the city be doing to improve public safety and policing in the Craig Henry area? So Miles, I'll start with you.
Thank you so much. The first thing we should do is bring back the community police officer that we had back in the day. It worked extremely well. The community police officer knew what was going on in the community, could handle the situation much with the help of the community associations. We need more police patrols in our areas as well. We need the police responding to the calls. I've heard a case where somebody called in and said that their car had been broken into, and when they told the police they had left their doors unlocked, they were told, well, we should be the one charging you with the crime because you left your doors unlocked. This is irresponsible. We need the police to respond to the needs. I've heard of the drug situation, not only in Craig Henry Park, but I've also heard it around the Mannerdale School. We need a larger police presence in our communities and a community police officer to help us with these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. Peter?
Yeah, we don't need more police officers. I think we just need more efficient police officers. Like he was just saying, yeah, not only should there be more patrolling officers, you know, a few times a night going through the neighborhoods, they should be spread out more. So what I'm getting at is now back when I was a kid, when a 911 call was made, one officer shows up, checks out the call. If he needs backup, he gets more officers. Now on a regular basis, they're sending 3 officers, 3 cop cars for the smallest, most minor offense. And it really bothers me because they should be only having 1 officer, at the very most 2 separate cop cars, so that the other cop cars could be out there doing their jobs. I have a real big problem that they're not enforcing any of the traffic laws. So I think they should not hire more cops, but just use them more effectively.
Thank you so much, Peter, for that. Michael, I'll give you the mic.
Good evening, Doris. You know, with the police situation, people are saying at the doors that vandalism's up, that cars are being broken into, there's more problems in the community. And I don't think it just stops there. I think we look at Hunt Club at Greenbank, the cars racing and so on and so forth. So there's a couple fold here. I think the idea of having community police officer in the area, it's a big ward though, as everybody knows, stretches quite a distance. So I think that if we can have the community police there, I think that if we can also have, you know, even a neighborhood watch system where, you know, there's people that are looking out for each other. At the end of the day, whatever it's going to come down to in anything, we always have to look out for each other. And so, you know, if we can have some sort of community association division that is looking after our community safety and also in partnership with OPS, it would probably be a good thing for everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Joseph?
Yeah, crime is up 13% in our ward. Violent crime is up 8%. The crime rate in Skyline Fisher Heights, I know it's not our local community, but it's part of the ward, is almost double the city rate. But even more telling is the fact that 30% of our residents say that they don't feel safe in their neighborhoods after dark. And that's a real problem because police is one of the handful of core services that we pay for through our taxes. Social workers are important, but what we really need is more police presence in our communities. And to get that, we have to demand it. sometimes you have to be a squeaky wheel to get things done. And I can tell you this, when it comes to supporting law enforcement and providing our residents with the peace of mind they deserve and pay for, I'll be that squeaky wheel.
Thank you, Joseph. James?
There's a candidate in our ward that's been recruited by Horizon Ottawa. Horizon Ottawa was standing for defunding the police for the longest while. I'm completely against this. I'm for police efficiencies, not defunding the police. I think the police are the heroes of our society. We can find efficiencies, but things for the neighborhood. We need, we used to have community police stations around. One large thing that Vern White had said years ago, he was the chief of police. He said, if we put 10 ounces of prevention into our youth, it would come back tenfold later at policing. It takes a village to raise a child. We need to get out and do a lot more youth mentoring in our neighborhoods. We need to have the police involved, reaching out to the children, teaching them to respect the police, to respect their neighborhoods. A whole lot more mentoring going on. Some things that could efficiency for police. We could have speed cameras, elevated crosswalks, community centers. We could have security cameras. Just thank you.
Thank you, James. And last but not least, Sean.
Hey, everybody. Just so you know, I was the candidate that James Dean was referring to about being recruited by Horizon. And on a personal note, I love the police. I think the police are great. My 13-year-old son wants to be a police officer, and I could not be prouder of him for making that choice. My answer on the issue of community safety, I do think that, like other things, it does fundamentally come down to better dialogue between all stakeholders. A well-engaged and well-connected community can be a safer community. That can include residents talking to community associations, who talk to their counselor, who talk to OPS. And Councillor Egli has made it clear to me that oftentimes the Ottawa Police Service will respond better to your community if your community gets engaged in submitting complaints and issues, because they respond to metrics. And so the more the community talks to the police, the better. On the issue of fear, I think one thing that will make people feel safer in their neighborhoods is better lighting.
Thank you, Sean. So to our next question. With the City of Ottawa pushing for intensification and the proposed development application at 25 Fair Oaks Crescent in Craig Henry, what are your views on intensification? And specifically, what are your views on the 25 Fair Oaks application? Peter, I will give you the mic first.
You're assuming I can find it. Yeah, intensification, well, that's wouldn't have to be as necessary if people paid attention to my Greenbelt plan. And as far as the 25 Fair Oaks, I saw it briefly. I believe they're putting in a multi-unit thing, and I definitely don't like them just forcing that kind of thing. The existing residents should definitely have a strong say, and it shouldn't be just a rubber stamp type issue. But I'm fine with intensification. What I'm obsessed with is our urban boundary is way too large as it is, largely thanks to that Greenbelt issue that I'm referring to. It's literally 4 kilometers of commercial cornfield right in our backyard. That's it. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Michael, I'll hand over the mic to you.
Hey, Doris. So when it comes to things like intensification and so on, we need to have strong conversations with people in the community that have it going up around them. You know, some people have lived in certain parts of the community for a long time. You know, speaking of, you know, some people in the 25 Fair Oaks area, not overly happy about what the situation is. But the scenario being is that we do need to create more affordable housing. We do need to have more places that people can call home, especially with inflation and everything we have going on, cost of living rising. So in terms of where do I stand on intensification, I think it's something that we have to look at. we have to figure out, and we just have to have open and honest conversations with everybody that it could affect.
Thank you, Michael. Joseph, I'll pass the mic to you.
There we go. Yeah, intensification, everybody's talking about intensification. And at the same time, they're talking about trying to find ways to increase affordable housing. Well, here's the thing about intensification that nobody seems to understand. Intensification drives property prices up. And if property values go up, you know, that might be good for the millionaire homeowners in the glebe who have their mortgages paid and they're happy to have their property values go up. But that's bad news for residents who are on fixed incomes or lower income who deserve the right to own and to derive the benefit from owning their own homes. So I'm generally opposed to intensification. I think it ruins the neighborhoods that people have bought homes in, believing that they were going to have a particular quality of life in that neighborhood. So that's my
Thank
feeling
you.
about intensification.
Thank you so much, Joseph, for that. James.
Okay, again, I have to bring up horizonottawa.ca. There's a left-wing NDP slate of candidates. Catherine McKenney is calling to remove R1 zoning, which means we will no longer have our single-family homes protected. I'm completely against removing R1 zoning. What that does, you give the developers full power, free for all. They're right now they're going, they're always applying to go past our bylaws, our building zone bylaws. Once we remove R1, it's going to be terrible. The city needs to have a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year, 30-year, 50-year plan. We need to plan our intensification. We need to have very specific goals where we're going to intensify. There's a lot that's missing between single family homes and high rises. Right now, high rises going up everywhere. We're missing duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, sixplexes. But first and foremost, the city needs to have control of this. We cannot give the control to developers, as horizonottawa.ca, Catherine McKenney is asking.
Thank you, James, for that. Sean, I'll give you the mic.
Thank you. So Mr. Dean was referring to the fact that we need a specific plan with specific goals. We do have a plan. We have an official plan that was ratified by City Council last year, and hopefully will one day soon be ratified by the province. We have such a plan with specific goals, and now we are implementing those goals. Intensification is coming. The province, the City Council is going to undergo a comprehensive zoning bylaw review over the next few years, and R1 is on the table, and this will be mandated by the province if we do not support it ourselves. I would prefer to see intensification over cutting down 2 hectares of farmland a day in the province of Ontario. But what we have to do, though, is have intensification in which communities are properly listened to. As for 26 Fair Oaks, I do understand that the community is concerned there. What I would like to do is make sure that I'm in a good dialogue between community and developers so that the
Thank you, Sean, for that. And last but not least, Miles.
Thank you so much. I support intensification, but I believe it has to be done in a respectful way. And it cannot be done lot by lot. We have to look at a whole community and decide the best path forward. As far as 25 Fair Oaks, I was at the planning meeting when it was discussed, and I understand the concerns of the residents. The way the current plan is being put forward, I would not approve it. I would approve of 3 townhouses without the penthouses on top. We cannot continue to allow to have extra living accommodations with no parking allowed. Parking on the streets is just not suitable, especially on the Fair Oaks location. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. And our last question of this evening is in regards to LRT. LRT Phase 2 digging is starting soon on Woodruff Avenue, which will create issues such as traffic, rats, noise, etc. What would you do to manage the inconveniences of this project on Craig Henry residents? And I will start the conversation with Peter.
Yeah, it's terrible. I didn't want LRT. I unfortunately, I hate to tell you, I don't think there's much that can be done, except putting up with a huge construction zone. It's going to be a mess. I don't think they should ever did it. Hopefully they don't pursue with phase 3, but honestly, I wish they just didn't do it. So I don't have much answers for you. They obviously got to be careful about, it's going to be 7 in the morning till, not at night. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a mess. And I hope the system someday actually is up and running and effective. And I wish you guys the best.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. Michael, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thanks, Doris. I think that with the construction project coming, it's going to put a lot of strain on a lot of people. And I think everybody's going to have to remember as we're going along through this, which, is going to happen, that kindness is going to have to prevail. So I think it's going to stress a lot of people out. I don't know if there's a way to put up some sort of noise barriers around the area that's being constructed, but I do think that we're going to see traffic problems. I think we're going to, and all traffic problems, whether it's cycling, along Marivelle Gardens there, noise, because they're already complaining about the noise along Marivelle Garden as well too. But if we look at Craig Henry, I think for the residents that live there, I think that patience is a virtue. I think we're just going to have to be understanding of all of the challenges we're facing at that time and have an open line and an open mind to whatever is going to come our way. I think it's going to be tough.
Thank you for that, Michael. Joseph, I'll pass the mic to you.
Thank you. When it comes to these large construction projects, there's really not a lot you can do. People are going to be inconvenienced. That's the bottom line. And there's no sense in trying to promise them that they won't be. But on LRT in general, I think it's worth noting that the transit system that the mayor and his friends on council destroyed in favor of LRT was award-winning and world-class. City planners and engineers from around the world would come to learn from our example. It's true that it was based on buses, but buses are still the most flexible way of delivering public transit. Routes are infinitely adjustable to meet ongoing demands and changing transit patterns, etc. So, and if you're concerned about the environment, convert the bus fleet to electricity. I'm all in favor of that, as long as the technology is reliable and we're not sourcing material from countries that allow child labor in mines. So phase 2 is underway. Phase 3 comes along. I'm voting no if I'm elected to council.
Thank you, Joseph. James, I will pass you the mic.
So I made my stance on phase 3 clear already. We need to put it on hold until we learn from phase 2. The Woodruff, talking to residents, and from what I hear, there's low-income housing that is not going to be moved now. Instead, they're going to move the LRT to the center of Woodruff to go around this low-income housing. It's going to cost us an extra $50 million. The housing is a temporary situation. The houses are very old now. This LRT is going to last for the next 200 years, hopefully. For $50 million, we could build all kinds of new affordable housing and put these residents into new homes. We need to keep our transit. We need to be responsible in our planning. Do not do something so silly as to move the LRT to go around an old house, because the old house is temporary. We need to plan for the next 200 years and spend that $50 million wisely. That's all.
Thank you, James. Sean, I will pass you the mic.
Thank you. I do agree that there's a big consideration about what route LRT phase 3 would take when it comes to whether or not those people's homes would be moved. But those people's homes are homes, and I wouldn't refer to the decision as silly. The people who live there certainly wouldn't think so. I do agree that anytime there's a major construction project, there will be inconvenience. And the inconvenience is worth it when the product at the end of the line is worth it. Right now, it's not. If OC Transpo can deliver a better service, then people might think that the construction inconvenience is worth it. but you're asking about LRT. When you're talking about inconvenience to Craig Henry, I think you're talking more about stage 3 than stage 2, the LRT along Woodruff. And right now, I'm not confident that LRT stage 3 will be going forward because we don't have the funding for it. And I think we need to properly assess future transit needs before ever deciding if that goes forward.
Thank you, Sean. And last but not least, Miles.
Thank you so much. I have to agree with Sean on this. I would put a pause on LRT3. I don't believe the funding's in place. And I don't think until we have LRT1 up and running properly and stage 2 completed and running reliably, should we even consider dealing with LRT3. Now, being a major construction project, yes, there's going to be a lot of noise, a lot of inconvenience. And I think one way to help with this is to have proper communication with the residents so they know exactly what's going on a daily basis. Too often projects of this magnitude are going forward without communicating properly. This is where the community associations will play a major role in getting the information out to the residents in which they service. Thank you.
So basically that concludes our question period for tonight's discussion. Now, before we conclude our meeting for tonight, we will go to our 1-minute wrap up, and we will begin with Michael to say some final words.
Thank you, Doris, and thank you for everybody attending this evening. It's been a wonderful conversation, and I will come out and say this: best of luck to everybody who's running in the election. So, you know, over the last 2.5 years, I proved that I could be a voice for all in our city that were owning small businesses, all the families that were terrified of going bankrupt, and I will be the voice for everybody in the ward during the good times, the not so good times, and I will continue to work towards bettering transit, affordable housing, mental health. And I just want to thank everybody for taking the time tonight to join us, and wish everybody a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Michael. I'll hand the mic over to Joseph for any final words.
Well, thank you very much. Just a minute to wrap up. So just a few random thoughts. As I was listening to everybody, I was struck by the fact that although there are some significant issues that divide us, I was struck by the amount of unity that we had tonight. We all agree on a lot of important issues as well, which I think is very encouraging. I think also want to just take a second. You know, one of the things that we don't really do on these campaigns is we don't always appreciate the fact that while we're in the fray, our loved ones are sort of sometimes caught in the crossfire. So let me just take a second to, even though she's not on the call tonight, to thank my wife for her patience and perseverance in this. And I think I could probably speak for all of the candidates when I say thank you to all of our families. Finally, look, josephbenamy.ca. I encourage you to go to the website, my website, where I try to discuss some of these issues in a little more detail.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
James, any final thoughts?
I've been proven fiscally responsible, proven community leader. There's one other issue that I am running on. It'll be coming up on my website very soon, jamesdean.ca. I'm going back to Horizon Ottawa and their NDP slate of candidates. I think this issue is going to be just as important as our debt, just as important as LR Phase 3. There's a slate of candidates that are running together, giving a huge advantage to them over everyone else. We know that candidates at the city, a slate at the city doesn't work. The Ontario province gave the mayor all this extra power. With the benefit of that, 2/3 of the council can override that veto power. But when there's a slate of candidates also running, there'll be no power whatsoever at City Hall. We need to stop this slate. We need some honesty and we need some transparency. Thank you.
Thank you, James. Sean, final words from you.
Thank you. So thank you for listening tonight. My team and I have knocked on more than 95% of the doors in Craig Henry. And what I've heard is you want a counselor that you can count on. And I promise you that when things go wrong, I will be there to support you and this community. When you have a concern, I will reply to your email. I will return your phone call. That's what the people of Craig Henry have grown to expect. That's what you deserve, and that's what you'll get with me as your councillor. Residents in Craig Henry have already benefited from the work I've done in my own community of Trent Arlington. I feel like I'm a close neighbor to Craig Henry, a neighbor that knows you, a neighbor that you can trust. Our city is facing big challenges. It's going to require councillors that can work collaboratively with others to get work done. I think I've shown that I have this kind of leadership, which Ottawa desperately needs. On day one, I will be ready to work with residents in Craig Henry so that together we can build stronger communities and a better city. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Sean. Miles, your final thoughts.
Thank you so much for having this meeting tonight, and thank you to the residents of Craig Henry for taking the time to listen to us. Over the last hour, we've expressed our views concerning many of the issues facing Craig Henry and the ward as a whole. As a community leader for the last 9 years as president of the Community Association, I have worked with many of the stakeholders that I will be dealing with if elected to City Council. I know many of them and they know me. We will work cohesively to have policies that work for the benefit of all. Being a neighbor of Craig Henry, I've worked with many of the executive on the Craig Henry Community Association in the past. I will continue to work with all the community associations in the ward to go forward and have a positive result. Thank you.
Thank you, Miles. And Peter, your final thoughts before we conclude this meeting.
Excellent. Thanks very much for having me. I'm really pleased to see that Craig Henry's in good hands. As a offshoot, I don't understand. It's kind of silly. They call it South Center Point at the end there. It's a bit of an insult to Craig Henry, trying to call you guys a South Center Point. But anyways, like I said, I'm mostly running on my issue with the Greenbelt. It's probably gonna take me 10 years to convince everybody. So you're probably gonna see those signs, more of my signs up in future campaigns. And please just go to peterwestaway.ca, read my proposal. It makes so much more sense than what they have there now. Have a good night. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for that, Peter. So this concludes our discussion for this evening. And I want to say on behalf of the Craig Henry Community Association Board, I would like to thank the Ward 9 candidates and all the Craig Henry residents for joining us this evening. We hope that you have found this meeting informative. So please remember to vote. The advance polls are scheduled for Friday, October the 7th and the 14th. And election day is Monday, October the 24th. So we wish all the candidates all the best with their campaigns. At this moment, I'll ask the Craig Henry community execs to stay on for a brief wrap up. But to everyone else, I wish everyone a good night.